2020, March of 2020, we announced the program. And then a week later, we had to postpone it because of COVID. I felt sick. But, in hindsight, it prepared us. It helped us build and foster that community. It just really taught us the power of just like patience. Don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. Take every shot. Take every opportunity to shoot your shot. Let them tell you no. And even if they tell you no, it may just be a not right now. But like, be relentless about your dreams. Like, be delusional. Follow it like no matter what. Like, people are going to call you crazy. So people think I'm crazy when we say we're going to open our pool. That's fine. It's only crazy till it happens. Hey everyone, my name is Paulana Lamonier, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 333 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. I hope you are buckled up and ready to go on this amazing journey today with Paulana. But first, a word from our sponsor. Have you thought about your car personality? What's your vibe? Do you like the classic fully gas-powered engine? Are you a best of both worlds type? Driving on battery power while keeping gas on reserve just in case? Or are you more inclined to choose a convenient hybrid ride? Whichever your vibe, there's a Hyundai Tucson to match and powertrain to get you there. Hyundai's 2023 Tucson lineup pairs the tech you want with sleek and stylish designs. They paid attention to all of the details, the seats, the dash, the available panoramic roof, you name it, Hyundai thought of it, all while making sure each trim has enough room to hold space for your grocery runs, festival nights, and tailgates. Okay, Hyundai, when it comes to your journey, Hyundai is there for every mile. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more about the 2023 Hyundai Tucson. The 2023 Hyundai Tucson plug-in hybrid is only sold in California, Colorado, Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Vermont. All right, Dream Drivers, today in the guest chair, we have Paulana Lamonier, who is the founder of Black People Will Swim, a purpose-driven organization working to smash the stereotype that Black people don't swim. After learning how to swim with the help of coaches in 2009 at CUNY York College, Paulana nurtured her love for swimming and became inspired to teach others how to conquer their fear of water. For over a decade, she has shared her passion for swimming by working with swim clubs, teams, and gyms to build a community with her students. And now, you know what? She's putting her dreams into motion of launching her own Black-owned swim facility and really building out the Black People Will Swim organization and ethos, and I'm just really excited for you all to hear her journey today. As always, Paulana is going to be dropping so many gems and tidbits from her journey, and really a testament to that clip that you all heard in the beginning of this episode. We recorded this in late September, and since then, Paulana has went on to win more grants, more awards, most recently a $10,000 grant from Create and Cultivate. There's so much that she's going to share with you today that you can enact in real life, real time, and start seeing results. And I just love her transparency and her vigor and just all that she's sharing about what it means to really believe in yourself and to believe in the dream. Make sure that you're following us on social media. You can find us at Dreams and Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing, you're tagging, you're posting this to your stories. Help Black People Will Swim, help Dreams and Drive. Let's spread the message, all right? All right, let's hear from Paulana. Hi, Paulana. Welcome to Dreams and Drive. How are you today, girl?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here speaking with you also.
I am excited as well. So I think, I love to give context to our listeners about how we met or how we're connected. So I had to do some thinking. I'm like, wait, when did I first meet you? And I think it was Brittany. Is it Brittany Oliver? What's her name? Lemons to Lemonade, right? She had an event, and I think I was the host. It was like a panel moderation. I was the moderator for the panel. And I think you came up to me either like before or after and was like, I listened to Dreams and Drive. And I was so hyped. I'm like, wait, you do? And then you're like, yeah, Paulana. And I'm like, okay. And then I think that's where we connected and just have been like digital friends ever since.
Yes. And that event was so good. And I'm grateful to Brittany because she is like really the supreme dot connector, like the ultimate dot connector. She's always putting people on. So, and look at us. Now we're here.
right? It's that's how the world works, like relationships and about cultivating relationships. And just like when you find dope people, connect. Like, don't be afraid if you see someone at a panel, like, like, hey, introduce yourself, because you never know where that can take you, right?
Right,
And we
right.
were in different spaces. I want to say that was like 2018. So you can even think back to like where you were in your journey in 2018.
I think I was literally looking for a job and I was freelancing at that time. And then later on that year, I ended up getting a job as a social media strategist at a university. So yes, it worked. It panned out. Life panned out.
All right, but talking about panning out, right? Let's pan way out and let's go back in time. I love to kind of start all our interviews thinking about who we were as children. And this is one of my favorite questions. And I think now that I have a child, it's also just so interesting to see what inspired, us as kids. So Paulana, tell me, you grew up in Long Island, right?
Yes, I was born in Brooklyn and I was raised in Long Island.
All right, so let's go back to Long Island, little Paulana, right? What was inspiring you about the world? What was really, what was getting you, like, what were your big dreams as a young girl?
As a kid, for me, I loved music. So I was a big like Usher, Britney Spears. I loved who else? Those were like my two main like icons. I was really into music. So I was, in the orchestra and I was really into sports. I was on the step team, I was on the volleyball team. I played the violin. I was first chair, don't play. And I was just really inquisitive about like how and just like I love talking to people. My orchestra teacher called me a gossip monger growing up.
I was Chatty Cathy. That's what my teacher used to call me.
See, and so like, and it's interesting how like those who were called gossip mongers, those who were called chatty patties, those who were put in timeout for being the class clown, look at where they are now, right? So that's kind of where I was. And I was really into like Sister and Moesha at that time also. So yeah, that was me as a kid.
Did you ever think like, how when I look back when I was a kid, I want to be a ballerina. I want to be this, right? What was that big dream for you back then?
I have my yearbook right here.
What?
Let me see. I have my elementary school yearbook. Let me
Did you get that just for the show, or is it just
No,
there?
no, I literally have like all my yearbooks on the bookshelf right next to me. And so I know when I was in elementary school, what did I want to do?
I think this is the first time this has happened.
Okay, Paul Lamonier. Okay, so I wanted to be, it says it right here, singer, dancer, violinist. That's me right here. I loved volleyball, sister. And my favorite song was Take You Home by, I guess, Lil Bow Wow or
Oh my God.
Yes.
No, that is so interesting. Like looking back at that, you had singer, dancer, and what was it? Violinist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are the themes there that, like, if you look at those themes of singer, dancer, like, how do you see those themes come? How do you think those themes have come to life in who you are today?
That's a really good question. And I always think about that too. And for me, it's more so like entertaining people, like making people feel good about themselves, about where they are in life, about helping them forget about what's going on outside of once they come and meet me, like you forget about that. You are in the moment and enjoying yourself. So I think now that I'm thinking as I'm in my professional career as a swim coach and all of that, like I see the similarities.
Yeah. That's cool. So you grew up in an immigrant household, right?
Sure did.
Haitian American. I grew up Jamaican American, so I know what it is like to grow up in an immigrant household. What were the plans for what did your parents, what were their plans for your life? What did they think that you should be doing?
I don't know. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know because like knowing Haitian parents, they like to rule with an iron fist. So I kept their opinions at a bay. Like I appreciated their feedback, but I made sure to not take it in.
Okay. No, that's good because I think sometimes it can be hard and a lot of people go on a track then that isn't their own, right? Mm-hmm. For you going into college, what was your track? Like, what was the thing that you were like, all right, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it?
It was hard when I went into college. My major was health administration, which is that was like that was, yeah.
Wait,
So
wait, wait,
bad.
wait, wait, wait. How
No
did we
one knows
go
it.
from singer,
Mhm.
dancer, violinist to health administration girl?
I don't even know. I think it was just like a major I put on the college application. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just probably go into journalism. And then I started doing like journalism, writing for the school paper. And then afterwards, like towards like 2013, I became like the first online editor for my school paper. So that was creating the Twitter, creating the Facebook, making sure that we were online. So that was my major, journalism, and my minor was English. And I was trying to freelance and get internships at record labels, actually.
Did it work?
It did work. I got a few internships. I'm not going to lie, I was a really bad intern.
Wait,
I
what made you a bad
was.
intern? Just in case there's any interns listening who want to be good interns, what should they not have been doing that you were doing?
Gosh, please follow directions and just listen. Like, listen, be proactive and take notes. And most importantly, like, think ahead of the game. You always want to kind of anticipate what your boss's needs are. So, kind of study, not kind of, but actually study them. You want to think 2 steps ahead. And that's how an innovative person is. They think 2 steps ahead. And looking back, I wish I was a better intern, but I wasn't mature yet.
And I feel like evolution, like sometimes we need to give ourselves grace, right? Like maybe you weren't meant to be the best intern then because that led you down a path to something else that like led you here, mm-hmm. right? So who knows if you were Paulana, the great intern, maybe you wouldn't have started Black People Will Swim. Like you never know, right? So it's
true.
It's one of those things. Thinking about coming out of college, it's funny because I always tell people, because I interned in college at CBS and I thought like coming out, I would be this, I'd be on the track to the media career. And that didn't happen for me. So what were the plans? And then what were the realities when it came to post-college for you?
It was tough navigating life post-college. I had all these internships under my belt. I'm interning at labels. And it was just really hard trying to get a job. So my professor at the time, she was like, listen, there's really not that much there's really not that much money in music starting out. How about you just start off in business journalism? And that's where my interest in business really started from. So I was writing for the Network Journal. It was like a predominantly Black platform. I was freelancing, getting paid $35
Yo, you know what's so funny? When I look back at how much I was paid in the beginning, I'm like, I thought it was so much, $35 for. Could you imagine getting paid $35 to write a whole 800 article?
You got to add 2 zeros after that, 1 or 2 zeros after that. Yeah. But yeah, I was getting paid $35 and I was hyped. I was a college student getting paid for what I graduated with my degree in. So I was the bomb.com. I was still working at the Y. And so from there, I was still hitting the pavement, freelancing, writing for different publications, and really helping people with their social media, which was really just Twitter and Facebook. And I think Instagram was there too.
Were you realizing at this point that you had a specific gift?
Did I realize I had I knew what my gift was and is, and that's like being a conversationalist, having engaging conversations with people. That's my gift. Like, I mean, yes, I could sing. I could sing you down. Dancing, I could do a little 2-step, but I realized that being an artist is just like it. I don't think as diverse as the music industry is now, what I wanted to do back then, I don't think they were even ready for that. So I just stuck to journalism, and that's what I was good at, talking to people, having conversations, and making sure that it translated to media.
Were you ever worried that, like, I don't know, maybe this is a question that's easy to ask now that we're older, right? We're both in our 30s, right? But were you ever worried that like you weren't going to figure it out? Like things weren't going to pan out, or I don't know, because when I'm thinking back to when I was in my early 20s after college, I wasn't really thinking too far into the future, but maybe you were. Just wondering.
Yeah. No, I was scared. I remember one time around my birthday, my parents and my family gathered around and I just could not stop crying because I was like so down that I didn't have it figured out. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't getting hired. So I felt really, really down. And, looking in hindsight, it had to happen that way.
Then when you were feeling down, then like, what were the next steps for you?
I think for me, it was just trying to get myself out there. So to make money, I was a swim coach at the YMCA. And then I was also on the swim, like I was also working for a swim club as well, an all Black swim club. And that's how I was able to get my experience in aquatics. And then on top of that, I was interning over at Black Enterprise. So that's how I was able to, and that is where I was like, you know what? Enough of messing up Paulana. You got to get it together. So I applied for the Black Enterprise internship. I got it and I killed it. Like I made sure I worked my ass off over there.
No, I feel like there's always like a pivotal moment for all of us, right? Like it's a moment that just kind of sets everything off. Thinking about Black Enterprise, were there ever any key things too that you got from them?
I can't think of anything at the top of my mind, but one thing I will say was that collaboration is always better than competition. So it was a ton of us as summer interns. I think it was like maybe 7 of us, and we were working in different departments. But I think together we put our minds together to come up with like the interns corner. We came up with like a really cool section called the interns corner, or we would like write articles or come up with like really cool content to really give a platform for interns. Because sometimes as an intern, if they don't give you work, you might just sit there with idle hands. But for me, I was like, nah, I got to make a name for ourselves. And so we came with the interns corner. We was helping creating content. And we were they told us that we were the best intern class that they had, that they actually paid us. So they paid us like $250 a month.
I mean, now, right? That's not that much, $250 a month, but
it was still something, and for them to say that, I was really proud, which goes to show that what the mistakes that you've done in the past, they don't determine who you are in the future. However, it is important to course correct.
No, I feel you there. So quick question here, because you were doing music journalism, at this point, I'm guessing I'm moving a little bit further along. You end up getting a job at a college doing social media strategy. That was kind of like the professional title that you had.
Yeah.
At this point, did you ever see yourself becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own thing? Of course, you were doing like your own thing as like, building your personal brand as a journalist, right? But I think that's a little bit different than starting your own like business. Did you ever think that one day you would do that?
Not at all, because I was so focused on freelancing. Like I was interviewing Queen Latifah, Lala Anthony. So I was just like, at this point, to supplement income, it was just providing private swim lessons. But then I think after a while, I was like, okay, we're on to something. Like people are really feeling these swim lessons over here. So that's when we got into the business side of things.
Let's talk about that, because I think that is really important to like get into the origin story. What was the moment where you realized that you were onto something?
So it was after I put out a tweet that I was that I wanted to teach 30 people how to swim on Twitter. The tweet went viral. I think it had like 4,000 to 5,000 retweets on Twitter. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to come up with a name. And we reached our goal. The names weren't really hitting, but in hindsight, I was like, I'm just going to call it Black People Will Swim, and I'll probably change it at a later date. And then, but that was that moment of like, okay, we're really onto something, because people really wanted a safe space where they were not only being taught how to swim, but felt seen.
It's funny, when I was doing like research and just reading up about you and the title, I think names have meanings. And when you think about it, Black People Will Swim, you could have called it Black People Can Swim, right? But I think the word will means like, I am giving you power. Like, I don't know. I see there's like so much more power in the word of using will versus they can swim.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought it up because that was simply it. It's not a matter of whether we can or we can't. We can swim. Everyone can swim, right? But will we swim despite the obstacles, despite life, despite, whatever may happen in your life, despite those, stereotypes? Will you do it?
Will you? I have to give you a little tidbit about me. So I can swim. So my mom put me into like swimming classes at the local Y when I was like in kindergarten. I went up all the way up to level 5, but I hate it. Like I absolutely hate swimming. But I was really good at the backstroke because I hated getting my face wet. So I would be like, I had that perfect backstroke and I was out. But it's just funny because it's a skill that I sometimes don't realize how valuable it is just because so many people cannot do it. So I'm happy that I have parents to kind of prioritize, like, you're going to learn this life skill, right? You're not about to be drowning out here on no vacations or nothing. But what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the beginning once you realized, all right, I tested the idea, people are interested, but how can I really scale it? Because you don't only want to be, providing lessons to only 30 people. Like, you wanted to build something bigger. So what were those initial, challenges for you?
The initial challenges for us was really finding a place to call home. It was extremely difficult for the simple fact that we were offering lessons at a pool that already offers lessons. So you're already seen as a competition. It's a conflict of interest already. So, I'd be chatting with the lifeguards and they were like, yeah, technically you're not supposed to be doing that, but I'm gonna let you slide real quick. And I'm like, okay. I took that as a cue. Well, I don't want them to kick me out. So the following year, it was just really hard we found a location, but then COVID happened.
Oh, man. So right. You started, just to get a timeline, you started in 2019, right?
Started in the summer of 2019, got the domain name and everything towards the end of 2019, domain name, logo, the whole 9 yards. 2020, March of 2020, we announced the program and what we're doing. And then a week later, we had to postpone it because of COVID.
Chances are you aren't sharing an epic dinner with your friends right now, but you could be. Just book a seat at a private dining event with your Chase Sapphire Reserve card. Then get to it. A multi-course menu, insane flavors, a wine pairing. Ooh, is that crispy duck? Experience more unforgettable dinners with private dining events from Sapphire Reserve. Chase, make more of what's yours. Learn more at chase.com/Sapphire Reserve.
Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Hey, Dream Drivers, it's holiday season, and I don't know about you, but I am so excited because it's one of my favorite times of the year. Not only am I looking forward to seeing family and friends that I haven't seen in a while, but I'm also just looking forward to the rest. You can't be on go all the time. You got to sit back and take the time to refuel via food and drink. And my family's Jamaican, so every gathering is going to have some of these staples. Mommy's rice and peas, daddy's curry goat, grandma's stewed turkey, auntie's mac and cheese, uncle's rum punch, jazzed up with a little And now that I'm a cook, well, I'm going to be busting it down in the kitchen with my famous, soon to be famous, I should say, jerk chicken. Once the food is done, the dominoes, laughter, and drinks commence. And one thing I know is Coca-Cola pairs perfectly with every holiday get-together. The holidays always find a way. Enjoy the real magic of the season by surrounding yourself with good friends and family, delicious food, and of course, ice-cold Coke.
Getting diagnosed with diabetes changes everything. Not just how you eat, but how you exercise, how you enjoy life, how you live. I feel like Walgreens just really gets it. From my local pharmacist, Sophia, always being so kind and encouraging, to all the expert resources and support with my meds. Couldn't do it without them.
When you need to talk diabetes, Walgreens is here. Start managing your diabetes at walgreens.com/diabetes.
How did that feel for you?
I felt sick. I felt really, really sick. Because I was like, dang, especially in Brooklyn, people were ready. Like I have a huge community out there in Brooklyn who's ready to swim. And so that's where we were going to start. But, in hindsight, it prepared us. It helped us build and foster that community. So it just really taught us the power of just like patience, just hang in there.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people at this, at this stage where a lot of other businesses had to like figure out some struggle. So was there a blessing? Because I feel like when did things start picking up for you then? Like once you had to pause it, what was the next point where you're like, all right, this could happen?
And to your point, that's a good point, because imagine had we started and then we had to shut down. That means that would have been refunds we had to do. People gonna want their money back, XYZ. So I'm glad that it stopped. We shut it down even before we started. But to your question about what were the next steps, it was right now getting our name out there, building a community, and also building revenue. So we applied to grants. And at that time, interestingly enough, I just got furloughed at my full-time job. So now I'm like, okay.
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID, I got furloughed at my full-time job as a social media strategist. So now I have all this time on my hands. Let me go ahead and invest in my business. Applied for grants. And the first 2 grants that I won was one by Essence, which was called Build Your Legacy, featuring Pine Sol. And then my second one my first one was with Adidas. So Adidas and I Fund Women. So that's huge that our first grant, which was around $10,000, featuring a international brand such as Adidas, who says like, yo, I'm validating what you're doing. Here's a little coin. Here's a little something.
What did you use that money towards? Because, in the beginning, kind of like, what do we need? Like, what's the most important thing? How were you prioritizing how you were using your funds?
Mm-hmm. So because we didn't have a swim program, a lot of the money went towards paying a team, hiring and paying a team. That meant hiring my creative director, hiring a social media person, paying myself, especially now that I was furloughed. It was just really galvanizing and building a team. So that way, once swim lessons do come into play, we're already operating and locked and loaded.
No, that's very helpful. Okay, so you had the grants, traction was building. Because I see on your Instagram page, you guys have like now over 40,000 followers, right? Like, how are you building that community? Because you didn't necessarily have to have people who were signing up for your lessons, right? But just building people who were supporting what you were doing could help then build that, right? So what were the things that you were seeing that were helping you get that traction online and, that eventually helped translate into people who were signing up?
I think for us, it was just more so creating that safe space, creating that community, focusing on Black people, and most importantly, educating our people. So why is it that there's not enough Black people not learning how to swim? What does racism have a say in that? What does our hair have to have a say, I wouldn't say, but play a role in that? And so it came down to us educating ourselves as a team, but also educating our community. And that's kind of why and how we've gotten such a large following in literally less than 3 years.
Yeah, were there any other like social media, like concrete tips? Because, I feel like that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people who are trying to build things online, like even for myself with Dreams and Drive, were you being like really consistent, or do you think there was a lot of word of mouth traction and just the idea was so strong that people wanted to support or wanted to like click follow?
Yeah, no, it was all three. Our idea was so dope that they wanted to follow us, but sometimes the idea could be dope, but the content is not consistent. It's not great, right? So now when you look at our page, we repost content, but we also make sure that we're posting original content that's created by myself or someone on our team. So, and as a strategist, not to go on a tangent, but we have our brand ethos, we have our brand pillars, and it goes by the acronym FACE. Okay, so F is for fun, A is for awareness, C is for community, and E is for education. So any and everything that we do under our brand name, we want to make sure that it aligns with our 4 pillars. So that's content to teaching to products, all the above.
Okay, no, I love that. And I could tell that social media strategist in you with those words like brand ethos. For people who don't understand what that means, could you explain?
Yeah, brand ethos is like, what is your brand identity? What is your brand mission? Like, what does your brand go by? What does it breathe? Like, if this was a person, how would you describe this person? I like to, because nowadays you have to humanize that brand, right? And so I like to say, like, we are a sports education brand, right? So we're educating you, we're teaching you, but we also want to entertain you. So I like to say edutainment in a way. Well, it is edutainment.
During the time of you building Black People Will Swim, you also were juggling having a full-time position, right? And a lot of us are doing that. We have our hustles. I wouldn't even call this like a side hustle. I feel like it's something that you're building equal. Yeah. It's equally as important to, it's not just something you're doing on the side. But how were you able to manage that? Did you ever find that it was hard? Did you have to outsource people? Like, how did that work for you?
It was tough. It was really tough. I would say that balancing it was really tough, but then also seeing my full-time job get a little jealous of what we was building over at Black People Will Swim. I remember having a meeting and they were like, well, we see the content you're producing over at Black People Will Swim. Why don't you produce that content for us? And I'm just like, well, you're not giving me the resources I need to execute. And you're not giving me the pay. So unless you want to increase that pay and increasing my resources, I can produce that. You can see what I can do on a budget with Black People Will Swim. And we're a small business. So imagine a multi-million-dollar brand is comparing what their content to a small, we were even six figures at that time. We were a small business. So it really goes to show that like people will watch your content and say, oh, I can do it too. They will try to mimic it, honey, but guess what? You are the magic. You are the secret sauce. They can try to replicate the ingredients, how you did it. But at the end of the day, it's you who makes the product. It's you who are the focus of what makes that business different. So to answer your original question, it was hard balancing the two, but I've had to learn that to lean on my team. And most importantly, I'm reading this book called Clockwork. It's really good. And
who's it by?
I think it's by Michael. Where is it? I normally have it next to me. I don't remember the author's name, but it's Clockwork.
Okay.
And it's a really good book for entrepreneurs who's learning how to delegate. And really it's figuring out what is your role? What is your job? What are the 3 responsibilities that you can only do that no one else can do in your company, and everything else just delegate it out. And that's not to say like, oh, you do these 3 things and then I'm not doing anything else. But if there's something that no one else in your company can do, you do that and then empower your team to take over those tasks as well.
So let's talk about where Black People Will Swim is right now. As of, we're recording this at the beginning of the fall, right? 2022. What are you proud of with how much you've accomplished with Black People Will Swim? You've been on I was on YouTube. You've been on CNBC. You've been out here, Refinery 29. You've had so much great traction. Like, first, let's talk about what are you proud of the most? And I think this is something that a lot of us as dream drivers, we don't do. Sometimes we wallow in like what hasn't happened for us yet, but it's so good to keep track of like all the good stuff that has happened. So this is the time to start doing your shout outs, to start really singing your praises as a founder of this amazing company.
No, you are so right, because we're always on the go and we're always thinking about the next goal and what's next. But yeah, this month off that I'm taking, I'm like really getting a chance to really sit back and look at what we've accomplished this past year. And for us, it has been just teaching people, being proactive. It was really tough finding a pool that would rent to us. So we ended up using somebody's backyard. And so
why was it so? Is it because of like the competing interests? People have their own lessons going on?
Right. There's that. Some pools, because of COVID, some pools weren't open due to renovation. So they took the summer off to renovate their pools. And so that also was a setback for us. So we had to use somebody's backyard, which was great because we ended up teaching 100 people in our program. So imagine 100 people in a I won't say it was a nice sized pool in someone's backyard, and we made it work.
That's the important thing, because like you made it work. So many times we think we can do something, but like you can figure out how to make it work, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure the people who were taking the lessons, sometimes we think they're judging us, but they're happy for the lessons, right?
Yeah. And that was the thing. I was like, guys, I'm sorry, because we had a porta potty in the back. Like there wasn't a nice restroom that they could use, but it was like, listen, we totally get it. It's a start. And I think that's what's really important, that our community understood that it was a start. This was a starting point, and that next year it'll be bigger, it'll be better. So they understood that hands down.
Okay, so you taught 100 people, you navigated the idea, like, the whole pool situation. What's something else that you were proud of? I know we mentioned press, like you just on CNBC, like you got these features, you're out here.
Yeah, I mean, press is great. Don't get me wrong, press is good, but when you're able to hire people and pay them, I was able to hire my best friend, hire my friend to be my social media strategist, hire my sister to be my aquatics director. I know a lot of times people say, don't hire your friends, but don't hire your lazy friends. That I think they've got the lazy part. Don't hire your unreliable friends. My people are reliable. And if there is a moment where I can't rely on them or something, or if they drop the ball, I try to get to the root of why. So really understand and set expectations. And that's not for working with friends. That's just with everybody. Set expectations and making sure that you guys are on the same page. So that was what made it worthwhile. My people who needed a job, who are really good at what they do already, I was able to pay them, and not like, hey girl, here's $10 an hour, like really pay them. So to support us in what we're trying to do.
And that was also funded by, like, I know you said you applied to grants. How much in grants total have you raised for the business?
Girl, I mean, right now we're nearly at $200,000 and we're in the running for another grant. So now if we win that one, oh honey, it's over. It's over. So,
and that's something
yeah.
I think a lot of people don't, like, they forget about. Like there's money out there that you can apply for, and versus a grant versus a loan, where this is money you don't have to pay back, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
How did you find out about a lot of these grants? Were you just doing research, or did people tell you about it?
So through research, Googling all the time, especially during the height of COVID and the George Floyd passing of George Floyd, and then the Black Lives Matter protest, it was literally like, okay, all of these businesses are now putting their money together to support Black businesses and to level the playing field. And so I took advantage of that. And creating a company like Black People Will Swim, where Black people are at a huge disadvantage, they're like, oh, this is perfect. This will make them look good, right? And so that's how we learned about the grants. And really, it's all about learning your brand story. What is your brand story? What makes your brand different than any other brand? What makes Black People Will Swim different than any other swim program, than the YMCA? Then go, I ain't gonna shout them out because they but any other swim program out there. And that's what I love about how we've been able to win grants, knowing your brand story and making sure that you are being detailed as to where the money is going. Okay.
That means you have to have the business set up, right? Like you couldn't just have some little rinky dink, like, okay, send me this via Cash App or whatever. Like you really had to have the business structure set up when you're applying for stuff.
Absolutely. I don't do business via Cash App. I don't pay people via Zelle. I pay them through QuickBooks. Like you want to make sure that you have a business plan. So when they ask for it, they know that, okay, I know where this money is going. I know that this business will be successful next year because of this $20,000 grant we've given her. So that's the thing. These companies want to see a return on their investment. And that's why you got to make sure you stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
So what were you discovering now, or what have you discovered? I feel like you've had a lot of superstar strengths your entire life, right? But like, what were some of your superstar strengths that you could say Paulana has now? Like, that I am a badass when it comes to blank, blank, blank.
I'm doing a lot better in my time management and following directions. That was something that
you're not the bad intern anymore. You're not the bad record keeping.
No, ma'am. I feel like I've become more reliable. And so time management, I'm doing better with that, being a better listener and taking notes down. That was always my, they called me Skittles when I was an intern. Oh, Lord Jesus. They called me Skittles. So I'm not Skittles no more. I don't know I'm probably a Jolly Rancher or something, hard like a rock. I don't know.
But what would you say? Like, you're talking about things you improve, but like, what's the thing that like no one's better at you? No one's better than you. What am I trying to say? What's the thing that you are really great at? Right? Like one of the things I can say is I think I ask really great questions, right? Like people say, Dreams and Drive, you're going to get a great question experience. Hopefully you're getting that right now. When people come to Black People Will Swim, when people experience Paulana, what do they really get?
That's a good question. I mean, because there's so many different sides of me. Like, I know with instruction and being a swim coach, like, you can't out teach me. Like, I am a really good swim coach, but I don't know. I feel like because I'm so multi-talented, it's just hard for.
It's probably there. It's probably there. You just don't yet realize it. I would say sit with it. Do like after this interview, really think about it. Cause I think we all have like a superstar strength or a superstar ability. Like sometimes it's hard for us. And I even think like as a Caribbean, like I grew up where my parents were always like, don't be so vain. Don't be so, So sometimes it's really hard to just kind of big up yourself, right? But I would say big up yourself. You need to think of that thing that really is your superpower strength. I want to just ask you this because even like was just looking on YouTube and the stuff you're doing, you also had like a personal brand that you were building, right? Like you had like your Paulana doing it big, right? You had your YouTube series you were creating. How have you managed the personal brand now that you're a founder? You also have, you have a full-time position. Where do you come into play with all of this?
Ooh, where does it come into play, my personal brand? I mean, that's something that I'm still trying to flesh out.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah, especially as a creative, when you have a business, it's like you so focused on the business side of things that your personal brand kind of takes the wayside. Mm-hmm. But that's something that it's a forever evolving, because my website that I would like it to be now it's different from what it was in 2013, right? So it's ever evolving. I'll just say that, and it's a work in progress.
My personal website isn't different from 2013, and that's a problem. I need to change it. My mentor was like, girl, why is this still up? I'm like, listen, if anybody knows any good like website developers or website designers, please let me know, because I need to rebrand both my websites, because it really is like you want to be constantly evolving, and your personal brand should kind of be like a reflection of that evolution as well. Yeah. So like, what's next for you? Like, what are the things that you really want to accomplish with Black People Will Swim? Are there any big, scary goals that you have? I know they say you shouldn't always tell all your goals, right? But like, is there something that you're nervous about, but you really want to achieve this?
I mean, I don't mind sharing my goals, because whoever may be listening could help a sister out. And this is will also be a testament of where we are now and where we'll be, and where our goals will be in that spectrum, right? But for me, I would say our goals is to, one, have fall classes. That is our goal of ours. We're trying to see where we pan out with that. But two, break ground on having a first Black-owned swimming facility. And that's a big deal, because you see, you have Black-owned hair salons, you have Black-owned clothing lines, Black-owned boutiques, Black-owned, I don't know, what else is there? Just Black-owned restaurants, right? But how often or Black-owned gyms, but how often do you hear about like Black-owned swimming facilities or swimming pools, or swim programs that they're not renting out of other swim programs, right? So this is huge. And this is why, winning this grant, we're in the running to win this grant, to win $100K. It's so important to us, because we're the only business out of those finalists that are in the business of saving lives. We're the only one that can save kids, people, Black, white, Asian, Caucasian, Blasians lives, So that's our goal, to save more lives.
Yeah. And, I was just thinking as you were talking, even with this whole like backlash with Halle Bailey being like Little Mermaid, right? People are like, oh, why is there a Black person being being Little Mermaid, and not thinking about our own history with water. And I think people think that Black people couldn't swim, right? But when we were in Africa, like we were like, depending upon where you lived, right? There were huge like West African swimming nations. Like I was reading about like, I think there's like a Nigerian tribe or some West African tribe where like it all was on water, right? It's like a floating village. So like swimming wasn't always something that wasn't part of our culture. It was just something that was ripped away from us when we migrated out of the motherland, right? Absolutely. And it's so important that people understand that connection to what we're doing and how we're bringing back this narrative that Black people can't swim, but they will, because we have always been able to, or it was something that was part of our beings, right? So it's just so important that just people get that historical context as well. Like it wasn't always like this.
Right.
And we do have a connection to the water in so many like bad and good ways.
Absolutely. And it's important that we highlight the historical aspect of it because, you know, people think that, oh, you're just trying to do the racial divide. You're trying to divide us. You're doing reverse racism. But it's like, no, if we did it right from the beginning, if there was no such thing as racism or slavery, like there would be a need for Black people will swim, right? So this is really a call to action to remind people like, hey, this is what's happening in the Black community. Let's shine a light on that and make people aware and bring a solution to that. So that's what Black People Will Swim is about. We're a solution to that problem.
Yeah, you know, I just want to say I really do hope that you guys win this grant, and just the idea of like what it would mean to have a Black-owned swim facility. Like, what? It's like you don't even think about it. Like, wait, how could this? And also who it would inspire, right?
Right.
And that's one of the things with this podcast and why I keep doing it 6 years later is everyone has a story, right? And I think everyone's story can inspire someone to do something they didn't think they could. And just the fact that you're over here breaking stereotypes and just trying is going to inspire somebody to put their own dream into motion.
Yes. So. I hope so. And I encourage anyone, like, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be extremely tough in the beginning. But, oh, honey, when you see somebody tell you that I can go on vacation and jump off of yachts, or I can go on vacation and save myself, save my kids can swim. That is a feeling that you'll never get over. You'll never get over because you're giving them a gift of life. That is really what we're doing.
Yeah. Who's inspiring you? Like, who's somebody who you in your life has been an inspiration to kind of keep going when you feel like giving up? Or maybe it could be a what inspires you. Doesn't have to be a person, but is there something that really keeps you motivated when you want to give up?
Yeah, it's my family. My family keeps me going. You know, I'm first generation Haitian. I'm a first generation entrepreneur, you know, so like seeing my grandmother coming from Haiti, and she's we like to say she's our GM. She's our general manager at the pool. So to see like her fruits of her labor, and she's just seeing how this has kind of become spread like wildfire. It makes me happy. It makes me happy, and my parents inspire me. And I just hope I make them proud. That's kind of weird. But as Haitian, you never know if you make your parents proud because they never tell you.
Understand what you're doing. Like, you know how like I've had to explain. I think my parents get it now what podcasting is, right? But my grandma, she didn't understand what, like, I was a sociology major. She was like, you went to school to be a social worker. Like, she didn't understand it, right? But do you feel like you get their support now? Like, I don't know I didn't ask you before if they were kind of hesitant when you said you want to build something, but how has it been with support wise for you?
You know, in the beginning, it definitely took my dad some time to get around. He's like, oh, don't call it Black people will swim. Call it people will swim. And I'm just like, why can't I, you know, and we went back and forth about it. But at the end of the day, it's my business, right? And I'm going to mind my business. So now they've definitely come around. They see how it's beneficial to the community and how, you know, we've grown as a business and the impact that we're doing. So there's no need for me to convince them anymore. It's there. The proof is there.
And you seem to have a confidence, right? Like, even when I asked you, like, you know, what did they want you to be when you were younger? You're like, I don't care. I don't know. I didn't really care, right? So I think that confidence of just knowing what you're doing is what you're supposed to do no matter what is really important. Mm-hmm. Is there something, Paulana, that you wish that people like would just stop doing, or something you see out here in social media, something where you're like, listen, like, you're really self-sabotaging yourself when you have these ideologies or you have this concept?
From what I see in my circle is like, don't tell yourself no, let them tell you no, you know, like, and what I mean by that is like, take every shot, take every opportunity to shoot your shot. You know, people are like, oh, I'm not qualified, blah, blah, blah. No, still apply. Let them tell you no. And even if they tell you no, it may just be a not right now. So that's what I tell people, especially when it comes to applying for grants, applying for jobs, applying for anything, to just go for it.
You know, you cannot be a dream driver without your keys to success, right? So, Paulana, tell me right now, what are 3 things that you think every dream driver, I'm going to call like in their lifeguard vest, right? Like, what do you need, right? Let's say this is a lifeboat. We're not a lifeboat. Okay. Let's say this is, what do you call a boat? Yeah, a lifeboat, right?
You say a lifeboat,
Instead of a car, right? We're in a lifeboat. We're still moving, right? We're on the ocean. What are 3 things that you need in your lifeboat before you hit the water?
Ooh. Okay, well, since this is figuratively,
Yes.
I would say, have a map, have a plan, and that includes having a contingency plan in the event that things don't pan out. Number two, making sure you have a solid crew, right? On your boat, you got your crew with you. Who's the lieutenant? Who's the captain? Clearly, you the captain, right? So make sure you have a number, right? Making sure that you have a lieutenant, you have a crew with you, and making sure you know everyone's roles, and make sure people know your roles as well. And then just have what's the word? Just like be delusional about your dreams. Be delusional about where you're going. There was a podcast I was listening to, and Dayton was saying like, what's this called about your dreams? I forgot what it was, but like be relentless about your dreams. Like be delusional, follow it like no matter what. Like people are going to call you crazy. So people think I'm crazy when we say we're going to open our pool. That's fine. It's only crazy till it happens.
Right. And then they'll be like, oh, I believe in her.
I guess, girl, I believe in you since day one. Right. So.
No, I like that, the idea of being delusional, because they say that you have to be a little crazy when you're an entrepreneur and when you're building something from scratch, because it's not like this journey is so up and down that you have to have a little bit of, to keep going when you don't know what's going to happen next. So.
Absolutely. And you never know when is that yes gonna come. You never know when you're gonna strike gold. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna be crazy. I don't care.
Oh, I love that. So tell our listeners, Paulana, where they can find out more about Black People Will Swim, where they can follow you online, where they can join the mission, where they can sign up for the email list, all that good stuff.
Yes. So follow us at blackpeoplewillswim.com, where Black people will swim across all platforms. And you can go on our website right now, depending on when this episode drops, to vote for us in the Capitalist Business Grant so we can win $100,000. And you can follow me at It's Paulana. That's at ITS Paul, PAULANA.
All right. Love it. And you know what? I asked this on my last my video podcast interview that hasn't dropped yet, but I want to kind of give guests a time to ask me a question. So let's end it with you flipping the switch, right? So I'm going to give you the mic. You're already an experienced journalist, interviewer. You know how this goes. Ask me a question out as we like drift away in the sunset in our car.
Well, where do you see your podcast? Is there a guest that you want to interview before the year ends?
What's so funny? So I was thinking about this. I really want to start doing more video podcasts, but I don't know what it is. Like in-person videos, if possible. I've just been so nervous about it. Like I recorded one in the end of August. I haven't dropped it yet. And I'm normally not somebody who's very like, picky or judgmental with my work, but I just keep thinking like, will it be good enough? Will it be good enough? People like it. Like, will I promote it well enough? Like, I don't know. I've been really thinking too much about it, but with the podcast, I just wanted to keep growing. And I think I need to just like get really back into the groove and the consistency of putting out the content. It's not even about like huge guests. I think everyone can have amazing stories. I think it's just about growing the audience, right? And eventually I want to be the place where like people come to me and they're like, I want to tell a story. Because I think the thing about Dreams and Drive is I feel like you get a little bit more heart, right? And I think within our culture, there's so much celebrity gossip, and even with the podcast, I even feel like the bigger podcasts, the interview ones are very like male dominated, right? Like the ones that you've seen on social media, they're like either sex driven or like, it's like some sort of, I don't really see the soul conversations from the Black female perspective getting a lot of that push, right? So just like, I love, like, I don't know if you heard of like Impact Theory. Have you ever heard of Impact Theory or Ed Milet? Like there's shows where they have these really great conversations, but they're not led by like Black females, right? So I would love to see more of that and to really just step from behind the curtain. I kind of like being behind the curtain. Like I love running things behind the scenes, but I think I need to just stop being so not modest, but like put myself out there more and just continue to grow the podcast. So thank you for asking me that.
Yeah, because I see it being more video content. I see you creating more video content. But yeah, girl, you got to do it. You got to do it. That is literally the next progressive step.
I got to be video ready. I'm just not like that. I'm like, listen, y'all gonna get this, okay? I put some lights on. I put some, I put some gel on my edges and some lip gloss, and that's gonna be that. And I just feel like with women, like I don't know if you feel like that. I feel like we have to be camera ready more. I feel like a guy could just go on and just in their sweatshirt or whatever. But like, if I try to do that, unless I make that the brand, and I guess I have control. I'm thinking too much with it.
That's what I was about to say.
Right? I can make it be what I want it to be.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, you can make it a pajama theme if you want to. Like, this is your platform. You create the rules. At this point, like, that's what innovators do. They go against the grain. They do what's different. They do what's not theirs. So if you want to do something different, if you don't want to do that, then do what you want to do. That's what makes Dreams and Drive popping, baby. Y'all had Jennifer Lewis on here. Okay.
Yes. Dude. Oh, I love that episode. They're just, I have to sometimes forget, like we were talking about, like, I've done a lot of dope things. Like this episode will probably be like 330 something once it airs. So like, that's 330 guests. What? And I've done it all by myself. So imagine what I could do as I scale it and grow it. So
that's crazy. Yes. Yeah, girl, get the video content out there. We need it.
All right, next week, Monday, I'm going to drop it. Well, thank you so much, Paulana. This has been so much fun. And, I really hope our dream drivers enjoyed hearing our conversation as much as I have.
Likewise, this was great. And I'm going to hold you to it next Monday.
All right. Text me if I don't put it up.
All right. Take care.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Festivals, football, flannels. Some say fall is their favorite time of year. And this fall, there are now updated COVID-19 booster shots designed to help protect against COVID-19 variants. If you've had your primary series, schedule an updated COVID-19 booster shot appointment as soon as you're eligible. And don't forget to enjoy the foliage. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
All right, so that's a wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guests' dream driving journey as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.